Hi, I'm Will Beckton.
And I'm Amber Beckton.
The phrase behind someone's back has never sounded quite right to me.
Welcome to Jett Road Studios Presents, where every episode is a pilot for a different show.
That's right. Today we bring you the pilot for Dwelling with Lauren Weedman. Lauren is a really amazing actress and performer who's appeared on shows like Hacks and Abbott Elementary, as well as Sirens. The past 20 years, she's lived in a rent-control apartment building in Santa Monica, California. And the podcast is a humorous exploration of how that building has affected her life.
I love Lauren. Just like instantly, I feel like we became really good friends. She has such a unique voice. I love her writing as well. I love both of her books. And she's also host of The Moth. You and Lauren know each other from New York, right?
Yes. Josh Gilbert and I actually made Lauren's Daily Show audition tape, which we shot up in Woodstock in that house where you had to sleep outside because of the cat.
Oh, yeah. Very allergic. That's when you realize that I actually was allergic to cats.
Yeah, it's been incredible to be back in her orbit and super fun to work with.
The pilot features an interview with comedian and writer Brian Finkelstein, who, like Lauren, has hosted The Moth.
Brian Finkelstein, old UCB friend.
She also sits down with her old upstairs neighbor, Ella Move, for a lovely conversation. Take it away, Lauren.
Jett Road Studios presents
Dwelling with Lauren Weedman.
I've been living in Santa Monica, dear God, for over 20 years. I don't even know how to describe Santa Monica. I actually had to look it up. They're like, Santa Monica, California, a.k.a. Silicon Beach. Sweet memories are made here. Oh, and there's the beach. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's the beach, the ocean, the great purifier. Spectacular sunsets, thanks to fire. My friend Derek, who lived in Santa Monica for, 2 seconds, he was actually working in the porn industry and he had amazing stories. He was behind the scenes, so it's much less depressing. Anyway, he recently moved back to Texas to teach opera in like a community college or something. But he would describe Santa Monica as a dog toy, like a plastic hard dog toy, like shaped like a hamburger. And when you go to bite into it, just nothing comes out but just toxic air, just poo, poo, which I thought like that is perfect. I realized too that I've lived in apartments, I guess since I left my parents' house, which was a long time ago. And even at my parents' house, I definitely knew it was their home, not mine. I couldn't even nap. If I fell asleep on the couch or something, my mother would complain that I was smushing down the cushions. Apparently, the median property value in Santa Monica is $1.5 million or something. I don't know. I've never owned land. There's a lot of wealthy folks, for sure. Where I live, too, there's these celebrity tour buses that go by twice a day, and they have to pass by this, the really cracky area where I live to get to the really exciting area where everybody was murdered and stuff, where Reese Witherspoon's shops and, OJ killed and all the highlights. When they pass by my building, people are not looking out the window at that point. They know to sort of like, keep your hands inside the bus. We're going through the area of like Lincoln Boulevard where people rent. The building that I live in, Lincoln Park Apartments, is this very rundown building. It's a rent-control building, so they don't do shit to it. They've done nothing to the building except remove the dead bodies. On the very front of the building, though, it says in cursive, the sign that says Lincoln Park Apartments, but the letters have all fallen off over the years. So it just says like Lincoln Park Apartment, which, I guess got its own charm. Oh my God, I'm raising my son there. My son said to me at one point, unprompted, came over and put his arm around me. And I think he was only like 12. And he was like, Mom, I'm going to get successful and I'm going to get you out of here someday. I was like, oh no. First of all, I was like, he doesn't think I'm successful. Also, I was like, where did he hear that? Was that like from the Brady Bunch or something? No, they didn't have to say that in the Brady Bunch. They had a great house. I'm like, did you hear that somewhere? And he goes, no, I just want to make sure I get you out of here. You deserve more. And I'm like, oh my God. He didn't steal it from bad TV. He's living that. It came to him naturally, this feeling. You can't think things like, I'll be out by winter. We'll be free by February. You can't think that. You have to think, I'm never getting out of here, because that's how you cope. The first person I thought of when I was like, I want to have a guest or someone I can talk to who I also know is comfortable immediately, getting into stories. The very first person was Brian Finkelstein, was you. We both are deeply in the storytelling world, I think.
Yes.
And I met you, I think, through UCB back in the day.
Yeah.
And you've come to see my shows, and I don't think I've ever come to see anything you've done. I'm not proud of that. I'm not bragging.
Yeah, I think I'm more giving than you are as a person.
Yeah.
We did a show a while ago where you did an interview on stage, and it was one of the most insane things I've ever done.
Insane?
Okay, yeah, because I think the first thing you said to me as I was walking on stage is like, is that the shirt you're going to wear? And I felt insecure about the shirt to begin with. It was like a weird shirt. You said it in a way that like, I think I know you well enough because I think we're similar that I knew that was not a bit. You were having a uncensored, just, whoa, that's the shirt. Like it was
and
real.
I'm sure you thought
and
that woman is going to die alone in an apartment. She does not know how to connect with people.
But then you in that show then did like a Lucinda Williams impersonation, and I fucking love Lucinda. And like you did all these things in the show that I was like, that was the most comfortable talking to somebody that I felt in months. And it was on stage in front of people, but it was like, I felt like, I just talked to a friend.
All right, good. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my, like, it's about this, but it's really about this part. And I know that I've been obsessed with where I live the entire time I've been there because it's a shitty apartment building, like it's a rent-controlled building. And so I've wanted to get out from the moment I moved in, and I've been there now like 25 years.
25 years in LA, wow. That's crazy. But I feel like I know, just from doing shows with you and seeing you over the years, I feel like I have an idea of where you live.
Really?
Even though I've never been there, just social media and then hearing you talk about it on stage.
I do mention it quite often. Well, how can you not? It's where you live.
It's where you live, yeah.
Yes, but I feel like I don't hear about other people's houses as much, or their four neighbors. I don't know what it's like when you live in a house. Do you live in a home?
I live in a home, yeah.
You do? Oh,
yes.
Okay. First bummer of the day. Okay.
But I didn't until I turned 50. So most of my life was in apartments. Okay,
good. Just want to make sure there's some suffering. So I knew I wanted to do a podcast about like the stories of the people around me, or the stories about their experiences of places they've lived and how it shaped them, mostly apartments, or this idea of being in such close proximity to people and how they affect you. As a single mom, I don't have like a tribe. Like I'm in that apartment building constantly wanting more connection with everybody, like wanting to know more about people and feeling lonely. That's a big issue in my life.
Sure.
You say sure, like obviously.
Well, you're a woman of a certain age, and you think this loneliness is going to creep in. I mean, I see the movies. I know how it goes.
Yes, someone's got to help me get out of the wheelchair. Yes, I hear you.
When I lived in my last apartment with my wife, there was like neighbors, and we were older than everyone who lived there, but we had like young hipster neighbors that they were the classic, like she was a graphic designer and he worked at a microbrewery. He only wore gray and white clothes,
right? But
we loved them. And then we had this like Greek neighbor who cooked. It felt like a very big community because in the building. And now we live in this house in like Glendale, which is like, I said Glendale, like cancer, Glendale. But it's like everyone next to us is very old. And we love them, but it's like, it's not our people.
Right.
The advantage being now I can walk out of my house in like shorts and no shirt. I don't care if my gut's hanging out. I don't care about anything about where I live now, which is great. But it's weird to not have a community of people.
It's also about the city you're in too, right? Or the vibe of the whatever.
You're in
Santa Monica, which I always, that was another part of it where I'm like, do I talk about Santa Monica? Because that's probably a big part of why it feels so weird and hollow there.
But I'm curious. I don't know anything about it.
It's this rent control building. And I was also, do people know what rent control is? Like, is that a thing? Like, if you hear that, do you know what it means?
I think I've lived in rent control, but it just means that they can't raise the rent, but a certain percentage.
Yeah, exactly.
And once you leave, they can jack it up. So they want you out all the time, but you want to stay all the time.
Yeah, they never want you there. And so it's really just like repeating my childhood. No, but it's like they never want you there. They don't really, they want you out. The people who end up staying there, you don't have to dream real big because you're like, well, I'm okay. Like, I just need $50. Yeah. And in the beginning, it was great because I could take theater work or I could do what I wanted. I was not like, sucking Satan's cock for money. I don't have to worry about that. I can do what I want to do. It's one of those sort of 60s maybe where it's maybe 10 units. Uh-huh. There's holes in the floor. Like the one time that I pointed out to the owner when he came by and I was like, there's actual holes. Like you can look down into, and then he took my table and he like shoved it over and covered the hole and he goes, not anymore. And I was like, genius, thank you. I'll be here for another 20 years. and always you can tell in Santa Monica, the folks that are rent control, Whitey Bulger was probably the mobster guy.
Sure.
Yeah, he was.
I just did a deep dive on him recently, yeah.
Really?
Just like a late night thing? Because I just saw that movie again and then I was like, I don't really know. And then I was like, oh my God, what a crazy life.
Totally.
But it was Santa Monica, right?
It was Santa Monica, yeah. And we're all, I think I saw him. People are always like, this is nice, Lauren. Like you've done a good job. Like I've put up enough stickers and enough like things up to try to make it look, I'm raising my child there, But I would always joke, like if I was going to hang a picture, if I was like putting a nail in the wall, I would hear like, ow, from like next door. Like I had to always like make sure there wasn't somebody right there because it was such thin walls. And I'm always really aware of my neighbors.
Is the rent control great?
I think it is. But
okay.
Like I can tell that I'm not like, they don't care at all. And there's something about not being cared about all the time that bothers me. You'd think, again, I'd be comfortable with it at my age, and being single.
Well, does it bother you if you're still there? You know what I mean? Let's get into it. Like, I think it doesn't bother you. I think you like it.
That I like not being wanted and stuff?
Well, you've stayed there for 22 years.
This is true. This is just, now I'm getting into my dating life too. It's like, he's unavailable.
What's so weird about it to me is you've lived in Santa Monica all this time. And I'm like, I don't know many people who live over there, except for like people who live like on the beaches, those friends of ours that live out here that we all know. So I always think like, oh, she must have this like great deal in this apartment. It must be super nice. Must be close to the beach. She must really take advantage advantage of like the culture of Santa Monica, and she must find something there because it seems like it's far away.
Well, yeah, I have a gratitude list. You know, I'm like, I can ride my bike places. I can that. So there's good things to it. But mostly, somehow it represents that on some level, I don't think it could get any better. Or I always feel like embarrassed. Like during COVID, when we were trapped there, I felt like I was like trapped with all my choices. And so I just continued to stay there, scared, I guess. I've watched people go in and out and in, and I watch, and the basic flow is that like a dude moves in. Not a lot of women move in by themselves, but a guy moves in, and then they start dating somebody, and then they save for a house.
Yeah.
And like that's another thing is they're always like, we're just here, and like in a couple of years we're going to leave. And the idea too that people are saving, because I'm not really a savings kind of person. But
what's hitting me about this is me. I went through the same stuff my whole life. And then I got married late in life, in my 40s. And I always felt that way. And I still felt that way. And then because my wife got a job on a show and we had, for the first time ever, enough money for a down
I don't want to
payment.
hear about her. I'm just kidding.
It's okay. She hasn't worked in a long We went through this, and then we had the opportunity, and she didn't want to get a house yet. And I don't think we should have. Like looking back, we weren't financially able to. But I was so like you that I was like, this is our one chance and we have to do it. And we did it, and I'm not so sure it was a smart move. I'm not so sure.
You bought a house?
We bought a house. We didn't pay for it cash. We got a mortgage and have a house, but I'm not so sure we'll be able to keep it. And I know people say that, but every month we go through whether or not we're going to be able to keep it, or whether we should move.
Right. I moved there because my husband lived there, my ex-husband. It was his place. And he had his son there.
So he's like your story of the person who moves in, meets somebody else.
And then when I first moved in, there was a woman who lived there who was, when I moved in, she's the age I am now. And at the time I was like, ew, like, what's she doing here? Like, why is she living here? Like, there's something wrong with her. Like, what's her past? She must have had some kind of like sexual trauma or something. She talked about how she didn't want to leave the building or live in a house because she was too scared to not be surrounded by people and not having, you know, but she was also awful. And that's what this story was that I wanted to tell you. Oh, should I change her name?
Rochelle?
So Rochelle, that's so similar to her name. When I first moved in, and she looks like kind of like a real estate person. And every time she talked to me, it always felt like her tone was always like, what's wrong with you? Like everything she said was, what's wrong? Like just so like, hi, Lauren, I saw where you parked. She was such a super negative, but up in your business. But I was so, obviously she was a neighbor. And I always want to feel like I'm going to get along, right? We're going to form community. From my brief time in Portland. She was, the first thing she said to me, she was like, oh, you moved in with Jeff? I thought about him. And I can't do it. I didn't like him. He's all over the place. I don't trust him. And I was like, oh, well, I'll take him.
And this is a woman who's a couple decades older than you.
Yeah, she's like 55. And she was constantly this negative, I guess they call her Karen now. Like, I'm like, hey, we're back from, being gone or whatever. And she was like, yes, I know. I heard you walking. Wood floors are very loud. She was always fighting with people. There's a guy that lived next door to her, Ron, who she was in this big battle with because he wore his shoes in the bathroom. And I guess the bathroom in her living room was attached or something. I would talk to her every day, actually, to hear her, like, what was going on with her.
I'm going to have to side with her about the guy in the bathroom with his shoes, though. I would become obsessed with that, too.
That's so funny, because that's what she was like, who wears shoes in your bathroom?
Like well, how dirty is his bathroom? Like, I would be like, are there bugs? What's going on over there that he needs to wear shoes?
It's his apartment. Like, can't he just live how he wants to?
Well, insanity doesn't work that way. Like, I would become obsessed.
Yeah, so she was always having something where she was so mean to people. Like, and I'd hear her out there, just like, nice parking job, learn how to park. We're living in the same building. Like, the idea of not getting along with somebody, I'm like, did Nelson Mandela not teach us anything?
I, this morning, was pulling out of my street, and a car was going really slow. And I flipped off.
It could be a neighbor.
It was a neighbor, 2 doors down. And I felt totally justified. And I drove, and like, it's just like 1 block and then a light to the freeway. And on that block, I was like, fuck that person, God damn it. And then like, as I'm getting on the freeway, I'm like, that's really not strategic. That's smart. What's wrong with me?
Why would neighbor.
I'm going to have to see that person now and like, be like, hey, that was funny this morning that I flipped you off. Was screaming with the window up. You have no idea what I was saying, and I just looked like a lunatic.
Oh my God. All I'm ever thinking is like, okay, we're all here together. When I was thinking about what is this need to constantly want to make sure that I'm getting along with everybody. Maybe it is from being adopted or something, or it's like,
insecurity.
That's what Michelle would say about me. She was like, you have to have people liking you, Lauren. And I'm like, well, because we're living together. And I'm not saying I'm going to let somebody, like, he pushed me in the garage and then he broke a bottle over my head. He's tired. Like, I'm not like that. I'm just thinking it's a small space and this is our world now.
No, practically speaking, that's smart. And it's also, it's the kind way to live.
Right.
But it's Yeah.
Well, I guess I have that so ingrained. It's so shocking that no one else is doing it. Okay, so she was this big force in my life because I was petrified of her, and she dominated my life in a lot of ways too. And when she was having this fight with this guy Ron, and Ron we thought was in the witness protection program too, and it's kind of the Whitey Bulger days. No one could ever figure out exactly what was going on with him, and he was from Long Island, which doesn't mean, but that's how we kind of exactly. She was always like, he got another escort. He's trying to record a rap album now, and he's like a short Jewish man from Long Island, always talking about him. And then talking to her one day when like he walks by her and she's like, take off your fucking shoes, you idiot. To me, that makes me cry, where I was just like, how are you? And he was like, fuck you, fucking bitch. But she's also the one that told me that my husband's having an affair. Like she was a major force in my life of sort of negativity. She also gave me her hand-me-downs that her cleaning lady didn't want.
Yes.
She was like, the cleaning lady went through that bag. She doesn't want any of that stuff. You can have it.
See, I like her.
Right. Yeah, she's up and down.
I call that a truth teller because I feel like I have that trait.
Yes,
and my wife calls it a scab picker, that I like to pick scabs.
No, but that is her. She was my only friend there. As much as I'm making her out that she was awful, she was the one person that I would talk to a lot.
Sure. Did you talk to Ron at all or no?
One time I was throwing away a mattress and I talked to him because he came and yelled at me about the mattress and turned me in. And then I was determined to win him back. I spent weeks trying to make sure I could win him back.
Insecurity.
Yeah, that didn't seem insecure at all.
You felt shamed by throwing the mattress out without knowing what you were supposed to be doing.
I don't think I felt shamed. I felt like I want people to know each other. It's a lonely business out there. I just like to hear people's stories. Like I do like to get close to people. It makes me feel safer, I guess, and to think that we're all going to be on each other's side.
I do have that like reaction with people, but then I do have like a thing where I live now where I'm like, I stop myself most of the time, like things that annoy me, like somebody's leaf blower or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I let that shit go because these are my community, so I get that too.
Yes. She was always battling with people and everyone was scared of her and and I would be wearing like her outfit that she wore the day before, or I'm like, I kind of like her. I got these new khakis. But then she was the one who's also like, Lauren, that babysitter. And she told me that she saw things happening when I was gone.
Did she date?
No, she told me there's nobody good. There's nobody good. And I remember thinking like, I think it's probably just you.
That's why Ron was doing escorts.
Yeah. Eventually though, she moved out. She inherited some money, but she kept the apartment because it's at rent control. And she just used it as storage and for a parking place if she needed to use the bathroom on the west side.
God, did that make you feel worse? I feel like that would make me feel bad because I'd be like, oh, I live in a place that people with money use for storage.
Yes. So when I first started like thinking about this, it started with the moment of how I would watch her, like she would yell at people for being in her parking place and she would show up once a month. Mm-hmm. And then she would walk through to go to use the bathroom at her apartment. And she would be like, I cannot believe I ever lived here. This place is disgusting. There's like 7-Eleven wrappers like stuck in the cactus. She just would talk about like what an awful place this was, how dangerous the neighborhood felt, even for Santa Monica, because we have like a homeless park across the way, which I also consider my community.
One of the first things I told Jean when we got married is that I've always assumed that someday I'll be homeless. And there's nothing she hates more than when I say shit like that, because it's 100% truthful.
Yeah, there's nothing that's so stable feeling. Yeah.
I just like know someday like things will get so bad or my ability to function in society will wear down all the way. And I accept that.
But do you practice like sleeping in vans?
That was in my proposal.
Do you like practice like sleeping in? I dated a guy who had a van and he would sleep out there to practice. He'd be like, I just want to make sure I'm ready for it, whatever. And I'm just like, again, I don't feel like this is like.
Yeah, it's not a romantic.
Yeah, we're saying like, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to know how to sleep in a van.
Well, I do like camping and I do keep buying camping stuff, even though I'm too old to go camping.
Too old to go camping?
I want to backpack and hike around and the survivalist camping.
Yeah, I have the homeless thing too. I've come close enough where I've had to think it through.
Same,
but then,
yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I lived in my car for a little while.
Just recently?
Like last week. No, like when I was 19.
You did?
Yeah, in San Diego.
But like for like a week?
No, for a couple months. I got kicked out of an apartment. I didn't have money for a new apartment. My dad wouldn't let me crash with him, but I didn't want to go back yet. So I just lived in my car, would sleep at friends' apartments every once in a while. But down there, you go to the beach, you could use the showers.
Yeah, and you're 19.
And I was 19.
Yeah, you're not like.
You're just dirty anyway. Yeah.
Not me. You're talking about yourself. Okay. That felt pointedly to me. So this thing with Michelle, and she came back to use the bathroom. And she was just like, it's a slum. These guys are slumlords. They don't take care of it. And Leo, my kid, was right there.
Ooh, that's hard. She doesn't have kids, right?
No
Because you would never say that to kids if you had kids. Like, yeah.
And she said, I can't imagine raising a kid here. Somehow this apartment is like a crack pipe. Like you walk up and you're like, Lauren, I didn't know you had a crack problem. Something about the shame of it. And I'll think I can't get out of here. Like I've watched people die there. Like,
oh, wow.
So Michelle left and I actually called her and yelled at her, but not to her face, where I was just like, yes, you helped me with the divorce stuff. That was great. But you are constantly so negative, so fucking negative all the time. Like you were constantly in front of my kid. I'm raising my son here. Like this is the home he knows. When Leo first became aware of this is where he lived, his first thing was like being dropped off down the road. Like he didn't let the person pull in front of our apartment because everybody is so wealthy around us. When I asked him, I go, is that hard for you? It must be embarrassing for you that we're in an apartment? I go, lots of people, a lot of single moms are in apartments. And he was like, well, I know you're trying to make the inside look nice. Someday, Mom, I'm going to get you out of here.
You're like an 80s movie.
Yes.
I mean, I'll tell you, our house is 1,300 square feet. It's smaller than most apartments. Our last apartment was bigger.
Right.
And so every person who comes over, like their guest house is the size of our house.
Right.
Every single person, without exception.
Oh,
people I've known for years.
Friends. Okay.
Yeah, because the school he went to and all of
you
our
won't
friends.
Invite me over, because I'm insecure.
No, because you have an apartment.
Yeah.
But the, I don't want Bruce to catch that. It sucks. It sucks because you're like, I've done all this work my whole life to get over that shit. And to be like you said, you can't take it with you. And to be like, it doesn't matter. And I'm doing the best I can. And I'm fairly happy with my life, with some exceptions. But I don't want that shit on my kid of like, that stuff hurts. And it fucking kills when it's the kid.
Of course it does. Yeah, and that's
because it triggers all that shit in you as a,
Right. Yeah, and trying to also get on top of that, we're like, it doesn't matter. We're here. This is our home.
Yeah. Because other people are saying that shit. So you got to deal with it.
But I see it too. I also feel like this is a shitty building. This is This is where the artists live. This is what happens. The ones who don't put money first. I have this image sometimes when I see people moving in, and there'll be a lot of people just getting out of college who move into that building where I'm out there smoking or something. And I'm like, just be careful. Make sure you get out of here, man. I'll tell you what happened to me. Babysitter came into my home and took my husband.
You know,
You're
Rochelle. You are Rochelle.
Totally. And yes, exactly. And I'm sorry. And I give them all like, don't even try to use the laundry. It's disgusting. The dryer won't dry. You have to do 2 rounds. It's cost you $5. Somebody who just moved in, this woman upstairs, she thought that I owned the building or that I had at least owned my apartment. She was like, because you have all those like books and everything in there. And like, it looks like painted. And everyone else has like 2 pieces of furniture because they're going to get out of there.
You look like a person who could succeed.
Yeah, exactly. I've been trying to figure out like, what's the core thing? Like if I was going to do this podcast about wanting to hear people's stories, what I really would like to crack the code on getting out of there. Like, what's the thing where it's like, well, I don't know, here's crack the code, Lauren, now make more money or find a wealthy man. There's another building next to it. It's also rent controlled. The oldest lady in that building just died. And this happened a couple months ago. And I was pulling out of the driveway and I see somebody pushing, it looks like a cart. I'm like, are they catering over there? Like they're like pushing like something you could use for catering, that which are wine glasses on or something. And there's a little minivan there. And there's on top of the cart, it looks like a body bag. And I recognized the shape of it. And I was like, oh, that's definitely that lady who lived as long as I've lived in my apartment, who's got the long black braid, who wears the exact same outfit every day, and who goes to the library. She's always like walking in her prairie skirt to the library. And they put her into a minivan and they take off. I called my other neighbors who know her, and I was like, there's a body bag was just taken out of the building. And they were like, oh, okay, I think they're stealing Amazon packages. And so they thought and so she was like, you go check your packages, make sure they're still there. Okay, and everybody had to check first that they didn't steal Amazon packages to finally go, no, that was Vicky. And that was it. And I never knew anything about her. I only knew that she went to the library in her prairie skirt. And then she was always very sweet. And they didn't know anything about her either. And that was it. Like, I keep thinking I'm going to get out of here soon, but I can't.
Let me just say in that context of are things better, they're not. I have a friend, I'm not going to say his name, you know him. He always would bitch to me about his house when and I would be like, dude, you don't understand. You're bitching about like how you can't afford your mortgage. Like it's different. You have security. You have all these things I don't have, And now I have this house, we have this house. It doesn't make the shit that you're talking about go away. I still feel inferior. I still feel I have less than, and I still feel worried all the time.
Oh, good.
When we first moved in, Jean had a job and it covered our bills. And I didn't. I was like looking for writing work for a long time and I was going to therapy and my therapist was like, you need to do something different with your life because you are going to kill yourself.
Oh, that's
fine. You are chasing down jobs you don't want. When you get them, you hate them and lose them as quickly as you get them.
Right.
Because you don't want to work for these crappy shows.
Yeah.
And she was right. And I was, trying to do other stuff and had other career stuff that I liked. But the stuff that I could make money at, I didn't like. Yeah. And the stuff that I liked, I could not make money at. So it was like, I didn't know what to do. And so I started going to school at night and became a high school teacher at the age of 50.
Ew.
And teach high school theater in
That's
a
what you
school.
do?
Yeah. I feel like I'm coming out because in LA, you don't want to tell people because then they're like, I'm not going to hire that guy.
He's teaching.
Yeah, and it's like,
You're teaching theater?
teaching theater in a high school for kids who like don't know theater, where like in Willy Wonka, my Mike TV like had a fentanyl overdose. Like it's insane. Or tried to kill the kid playing Charlie. And I'm like, that's good casting.
But that's great. But you had the support to do that, right?
But then she supports me, and then part of me is like, why didn't she stop me? Why does she not think I was going to make it as a whatever? Like you can't win. And I have to say, I hate it.
Oh, that's good.
I hate everything about it, and I probably won't do it much longer. But it's like, and I called in sick to be here.
You did? Oh, no, Brian. Oh, my God.
If you're listening, that's not true. I'm really sick right now.
Yeah, it's a Sunday, so obviously there's no
it's a
school.
Sunday. We're recording this on Sunday.
The other reason I think I got to this headspace is that the woman who lived upstairs from me, when MK died, and I was up there, I saw her before they took her to the hospital, and I saw her books on her bookshelf were all full of these books about learning to love yourself, self-love stuff.
Man.
I know, and but I had the exact same books on my bookshelf. Like, they were all these sort of, and there's like the artist's way stuff, but there was also like, being alone and, repairing after abuse or something. There was all this awful, but self-help stuff. And again, so many of them on my bookshelf. And I'm like, did we think that we weren't worth more?
It's like a tree where you count the rings. You just count the self-help books to see how old you are.
Basically.
I kept trying.
And we had this, yes, and she had all the different generations of it.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not so much about cracking the code as much of wanting to hear people's stories. For me, the idea that I don't know this guy across the way from me, but he's in the next building, but it's basically my building. Alex, this old Russian man, I know nothing about him except for he smokes in the alley, and he's 20-some years. I've seen him out there. And once in a while, he will, like when I got my haircut one time, he was like, Lauren, here. This haircut for you, not good. This is not good for you. Believe me, this is not good for you. And I'm like, thank you, Alex. And he just was always giving me sort of like, Lauren. Asked me to take care of his cottage cheese one time, which is
that
like sourdough. What's the stuff in sourdough bread?
Oh, yeah. A starter.
A starter. He had but it was a cottage cheese starter from his village in Russia or something. And he's going on vacation. And
I wouldn't be taking hair advice from this guy. Does he drive a BMW with like all tinted windows and like chase villains?
Oh my gosh. If I could get a grant where I could actually get to know the stories of everybody around me, that would be amazing. And the idea that nobody else seems to care, like truly, like when that woman died, they're like, oh no, there goes Vicky.
It's the worst fear because she just disappears.
Yes. And even after Vicky died and her sister was there cleaning up, and I was like, let's go ask her sister.
Yeah.
They're like, no, not. They seem totally disinterested. I'm like, okay, so I guess it is just me.
Does he have any friends in the building? Like any?
There's no kids in the building.
No, okay.
It's not a building like that. In fact, even the fact that there's somebody with a kid there, people are like, oh. People don't even say hi, which is, I didn't know was an option.
It's so weird because I've lived in 2 places with Gene. I lived in like maybe 7 apartments before that out here.
Wow.
In the time I lived here. And then I lived at 1 apartment for 15 years in Williamsburg. But in every one of those, I knew my neighbors. In every one of those.
Like they'd come over and hang out?
Like the one before Gene I lived at, there was like a lady downstairs who was this stunt actress who was batshit. She drank and smoked a lot.
And she liked her.
I mean, I got drunk with her a couple of times in her apartment, but she would tell me how she had a day job at a bank and she got fired because she's like, all I do is talk about Beyonce a little bit and how beautiful she is and how much I love her. But she was like so obsessed with Beyonce. She would be all at her plate. And she was in love with her. And I guess she got fired because she would talk about Beyonce too much at her job.
Wow, that's a...
But I knew that about her. And I would go in her apartment and hang out with her.
But if you know people, it's always better, right? Because I feel like when I get mad at somebody, if I actually know who's above me, it's so helpful. If I know them and I know the stories of like, oh, she was sex trafficked, for God's sakes, give her a break.
Sex trafficked? Is that I never heard that use of verbiage. I was like, well, that's like, no, but like my neighbor that I flipped off this morning, all jokes aside, I will talk to that person today and we'll laugh about it because they know me and I get like, and if I didn't know them, it would be a thing now. We'd start that like little Hatfield McCoy bullshit and it would escalate. But because this person knows me, they'll laugh at how I was.
I'm sure that's what homeowners do, right? I get it. There's certain people that have become like MK above me. When she was dying, I wouldn't go up and visit her. And I promised I would. I became so petrified or freaked out by hearing her up there dying. So I could hear her at night. Oh, she wasn't dying like, ouch, ow. Like it wasn't that. But every moment that I knew she was alone, I'm like, I got to go up there. I can't leave her up there.
Sure.
And her daughters would come by and be like, she loves your visits. You really lift her up.
Yeah.
And then I ended up making signs and attaching them to like a curtain rod. Put something funny, like, show me your tits, MK. And I would do signs up to her every day just so I felt like I was doing something. And then when she died, and then I go up there and I see her books and stuff about like, oh my God, that's what I'm down here doing.
So much of my life, I thought like, well, this isn't my life yet.
Yes.
And so it's like you're getting to the next thing, and then you suddenly realize after all these years, you're like, these are my people.
Yes.
Oh, God, I just remembered I have this friend, and I'll tell you when we turn the mics off who it was.
Why?
But it's a friend of ours as a couple who came over our house, and they are very successful and blah, blah, blah. And I remember we cooked them dinner, and we fucking bought like fish that we couldn't afford. I remember it was in our apartment, whatever. It was a big deal. And we had like the glasses, you get when you get fucking married that we had never used before, like all that shit. And I remember my mom used to cook on Friday nights. My mom was a single mom. And we were broke. The electricity shut off and stuff. But every Friday night we would have fried clams, frozen Miss Paul's fried clams and linguine with garlic and olive oil. And I love those fucking frozen fried clams, which are disgusting. But I buy them and I hardly ever eat them, but I had them in my freezer. And I remember these people came to our fucking house for dinner. And at the time, our refrigerator was in the laundry room, which was in the back of the place. And they went in there and they were going to get the wine and booze that they had brought over because they wouldn't drink our fucking wine, Because we had opened wine and poured them a glass, but then they were like, no, I only drink this because of allergies. And it's like, no, it's just...
They're like, yeah, use your wine for cooking.
Yeah,
we'll use
so
this
they
one.
went in our fridge and she came out to where we were sitting eating to the freezer and she said to her husband, she goes, look, honey, something called frozen clams. Isn't this so funny? And I was like, that's my fucking mother's, like, I remember getting so fucking mad. When that happened, I was trying to get a job through that person. And I was like, what am I fucking doing? I don't want to work for this person. But if you're listening and you recognize yourself and you are hiring, that was a funny thing you said.
Every adult wants to be respected. Everybody wants to feel like, oh, I'm an adult. I'm not a complete asshole, right?
Yeah.
How are we ever going to evolve or now we really got to protect each other in this time period? This communities are going to be important, I think.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, if I can hear people's stories, like if I could talk to Rochelle even now.
If you could do the podcast where you get those people and then have guests come in, I would fucking love that.
So trying to figure out my relationships with my neighbors.
There's part of it that could lean into it's about class, but I don't think that's where you want to go. I think it's more just about the community.
I think too now people don't tell a lot of truth. Like with texting, how you can, I've got relationships with people that I don't see as much as I text with them, right? And so I've come up with the whole character of who they are. That is what also drove me to want to do this now. I want to know what's happening with everyone so we feel less lonely.
Everything else feels like a waste of time. I have the same thing where
right.
I don't understand how people don't want to do that.
This is what I'm talking. So this is what I want for the people around me too. Like this is what we have right here in the moment. You're in front of me. I'm in front of you. This is our now.
But I also think this, when you go over somebody's house, are successful, but it's not successful. The people I know who have a lot of money for whatever reasons.
People have family money.
Yeah. But you go over their house for the first time and they do that thing that I fucking hate, which is let me give you a tour of my house. And I hate it because my whole life I felt like I would see it as it reflects through me and things I don't have and never will have and how they think they're better than me, right? But you notice when you do that with friends who have houses, they all do it. But when you go over somebody's apartment, they don't. So maybe this is your way of giving a tour of the apartment, where you get to show who you are, good or bad or fucking crazy, because
right.
those people sound crazy. At least it's I'm getting to know you. I've known you for how long? And now I'm hearing stuff that I've never heard before. Yeah. So it's I kind of like it.
Right. I think there's a socioeconomic thing, though. It is about that a bit, too. Because when I grew up in Indiana, anyone who lives in an apartment, I'd see apartment complexes and I'd be like, that's where they get pizza delivered. What goes on in there?
Yeah.
I think that's where people buy drugs or something. And then the one friend I had lived in an apartment had a single mom, divorced mom. And then once I got to know her and I was taking out her place, it was fantastic because it was the party place because her mom was always gone. And it felt like we could pretend it was our house. It was a small enough version. And I can see when Leo's friends come over, they fit better than I do.
Yeah.
And Leo says, when I go to their houses, there's a lot more rules about don't come in here right now. And I'm like, oh no, this is completely.
That's the way my house was.
For everybody.
We had a house growing up, but it was after my dad left, we lived there with my mom and it was, there was holes in the carpet. There was dog shit stains in the carpet. The ceiling tiles were broken. I mean, it was a mess. And I hated it. I had a hard time with socialization and friends and all fucking comedy people. But if I didn't have that place that everyone felt safe to go because you could spill shit on the floor, whatever they thought,
right.
I love it. I look back and I'm I'm thankful that was our house because it did give me a community of friends.
Yes, there is that. My apartment is if someone's oh no, my fist just went through the drywall. And I'm like, that's okay. We'll just put that table over it. But I think what interests me or drives me or keeps me happy being alive is just this never-ending want to connect with people on a deeper level.
Yeah.
So that's the main thing. I'm tired of feeling lonely. I don't want to see other people feeling that way. And if I could hear other people's stories as well, being in those apartment buildings and feeling connected or not, and what were those connections like and how do they shape you?
I think it's going to be great.
So after I spoke with Brian, which was really helpful because I wasn't quite sure what the focus of the podcast should be. I had a general idea, but you never know exactly how it's going to go. One of my goals with the podcast was that I was going to try to meet a new person every week, a new neighbor, and get to know them. And my first goal was to talk to Rochelle, but she declined, which was not a huge shock. And she also made it very clear that she was happy. She loves her new home. She's got a glorious life. She doesn't really want to talk about Lincoln Park apartments. Fair enough. Then I reached out to the woman who had lived upstairs from me, and she said yes. And so I sat down with, her name was Ella. I just like getting to know people. Is it so wrong? This is my conversation with Ella Mouvet. I'm always talking about this building and the fact that I've been here for so long and watch everybody go in and out and in and out and in and out. Remember how you thought that I owned the place?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I know that was before I knew that they were, how you say it?
Rent controlled.
Rent control.
Yeah,
and most of Santa Monica was rent controlled.
Yeah.
I did not know really what it meant.
It means like shitty apartments. You can see across the way, her boyfriend over there. It's really a beautiful story because they saw each other. She's naked vacuuming. I'll tell you later, but I don't know if you're always naked vacuuming, but that's how I saw you. And then over there, there's like fun, who always is like kind of a party guy, but not a party guy and like an annoying party guy. Like we've had those like, woo!
Like not the 20s, more like the 30s.
Yeah. Different, just a little stonery is all, like a little like party stonery, which is totally fine. And then, but he put up clouds on the ceiling. So it's just like like different colors in the clouds. And then she's over there naked vacuuming and she's like, hey. And so they're...
I like this.
Yeah, it's a beautiful love story. Okay, this is another reason you first moved in. And I was like, I thought you were Israeli as well. I go, who's the new Israeli girl? Who's the girl from Puerto Rico? Nobody could figure out where you were from. Not that there was deep discussions. It's just this bro next door.
It's your neighbor.
Yeah, all I know is that you're very light. That's what's so amazing. Like you're up there, I never hear you.
You have no idea. When I moved here, I lived in San Diego in this really, really old house with this guy, my roommate. I had to walk very, very lightly because he was really, really...
Abusive?
Sensitive.
OCD?
Oversensitive.
Yeah.
And
abusive.
It's not like I made too much noise, but...
You got used to not trying to walk?
The living room was on top of his bedroom.
Okay.
And then the girl who lived in my room before, she committed suicide, which I found out later, but...
Oh, you're really coming in strong right now. I just want to say, you've already...
Oh, I have more gifts for you.
I know, my God, it really is my birthday.
When I moved here, I was pretty much walking on my tippy toes. So I didn't want to cause bad impression, especially that I was moving things a lot and I was moving a lot at night. So I was like, fuck.
Bless your heart. I appreciate that. That's a major thing to do, to care about others.
Later on, I figured out that the walls are pretty thin here anyways, because I can hear my neighbor coughing at night or something. I'm like, fuck. But I try to be as respectful as possible. And then, well, I had rugs because I like rugs, even though there's beautiful parquet like here.
Oh, I'm glad you like rugs. That's a really good passion to have for apartments.
I put rugs everywhere and I take off my shoes and I don't walk in shoes in my home unless it's slippers.
I am so into you right now.
It took me a few months to just
relax.
I was smoking in my apartment weed and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna come. Well, I didn't know who you were, but...
You didn't know my last name?
No, I didn't know.
I'm Weedman.
I was so happy that I had my own place.
Right.
I didn't want to fuck it up.
To just like sit on a pillow and smoke weed and not move around. No trouble here. That's so sweet. That's because you have no idea the girl before you, who I really loved. My goal is to love the neighbor. I don't mean to sound so Christian. So the woman who lived there before you, Gladys, she could give a shit. I went up there to offer to buy rugs for her. I was like, what would it take? And she was
That's so sweet.
You're great. You're a great light walker.
When you have little kids, people can't really bitch at you because what are you going to do with your kid? Throw him out?
That's what she said. Because I was like, we're really on the same schedule as your kid.
But then if it's me or another person, when it was my ex-boyfriend at the time visiting, he's pretty big guy. I can't control how he walks and we're not stomping or dancing. Why are you
so self-conscious? Because I think some people really could give a shit. And other people...
Oh, it comes from my childhood too.
Right. What happened to you?
No, because also we lived in an apartment where
talk about Russia and the Cold War.
You could hear everything everywhere. And my mom was overly sensitive to all the neighbors. And then she hated when they got the kid upstairs.
Okay, so wait a second. You grew up in an apartment?
Yeah. I never lived in a house, really.
Oh, you don't want to live in a house. They're scary.
No, I do want to live in a house.
Scary. People they could break in at any moment. You don't know what's going on. You're like, the backyard. When did you move in? And I can tell you anything you want to know about how we all talked about you.
This was my last resort.
Oh, God.
I was looking for an apartment for a few months in LA to move from San Diego to here, and I couldn't find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to sell all my things and go to Africa to die. There's a thing called Iboga. It's like a plant medicine thing, and it's for a few weeks, and you kind of like it's really intense.
And then you die? You mean your ego dies or your body dies?
Yeah. So if ayahuasca is the mother, the feminine, Iboga is the father.
Oh, so it beats the shit out of you.
It's really intense. Yeah, you're with some tribe.
I am curious, and and there's nothing worse than being in the middle of a story and like, that's enough, like too long. But I would like to know who you are a little bit. Like what brought you here? What did you care about? Why'd you come? You know what I mean? Why California? Just like 20 seconds. I'm just kidding, not 20 seconds. 10 to 15. Keep it short. Your life story.
I knew that I wanted to live by myself. I was in a point in my life where, how do they call it? Sorry, my brain is not working.
That's all right. You want to dance it? Express it with your body?
No, I have the image, but...
What is the image? What's the image?
Dark, very dark.
Dark. Yes. I like it. Walk into that
No, but there's
darkness.
a fancy term for this. The dark path of the soul, the dark...
Oh, yes. Dark night of the soul.
Yes. I just wanted to have my cocoon, my private place with a bathtub, walking distance, or minimal driving to the beach.
Were you coming from a bad relationship or something? Or why did you suddenly want to like nobody? I want to be a cocoon and maybe I'll go to Africa to die.
That's a very good question. I'm still working on it. I'm moving into sober living next week.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
What?
We broke up yesterday.
What?
So you see, the grass is greener on the other side, but you don't know how psycho your neighbors are. You think you're the psycho and nobody wants to be friends with you.
I don't think that. I don't know why you just said that. Wait a minute. Wow.
So I reached the point where I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to be myself, but I was still leading a double life. Like kind of like when I read your book, it feels like you. It's your voice, and you're unapologetically like it's Lauren Weedman.
Yeah,
like
very angry. I remember when I saw you after. You're like, I read your book. I had to put it down. You're so angry.
No, I finished it. That's not what I said.
Oh, see, I heard it. I always turn things into how they can hurt me.
I really loved how each chapter had a story. It went dark, deep, and then optimistic.
Sure, they make you do that in story structure. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to leave it like, and then I was crying, and then it turned out it was
So for
diarrhea.
me, it was like, wow, she's writing it, and her kid probably read it, and somebody else might have, you know, what I'm thinking about. Getting inspiration right for me and who I can be. And then, oh my gosh, my family is not going to talk to me. And California felt like the perfect place to do that. I first came to California maybe when I was 22, 21, and it was San Francisco, and I fell in love and I wanted to move to San Francisco. I lived in New York. We moved from Moscow, Russia to New York.
Oh, excuse me, big city.
Yeah, so I'm used to big cities, apartments, loud noise.
How old are you now? Do you want me asking, or you don't like talking about that?
No, that's fine. That's a big thing for me. I'm almost 40.
Oh my God. If you could see the visual, she looks like, I don't know, 11 to 12. You're like a tiny
Will you
child.
marry me?
Yeah. Okay. This is a weird turn. I'm trying to figure out if I'm a lesbian, so it's funny you'd say that.
The flower or the petal, or you can like both.
All the roses in the garden. I get it. There is no garden. I have no backyard. But listen, back to you though, because this is, I'm with you on this. Coming here to like find yourself a bit. And then San Francisco, you said you felt like you're leading kind of a double life and you want to come here and be...
It was later, but I accidentally ended up in LA instead of San Francisco for Christmas. And I loved it. I was staring at the ocean with a beautiful sunset, with a sailing boat, just weeping. I was like, I'm moving here.
Oh, that's
I'm moving
nice.
here.
No, you know how I first knew? I don't want to jump over anything because I love what you're saying. I didn't know you're going to be so great, by the way, too. You're being so great and open.
That's why
awesome.
I always wanted to come over.
No,
and have
no
a glass
friendship.
of wine. Now I can't even have a glass of wine with you.
No friendship. You got to go to your sober living. That's what you earn, sober living by yourself, okay? For what, though? Are you cutting up pot?
Everything.
What? I don't know this.
No.
I don't see this in you. So I don't know that you're over there like neglecting your babies and stuff.
That's why I don't have any.
Right. For me, being in this building and watching people come and go, when you came in, your sensitivity to everything, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, as you seem like you're like in the world and sensitive about the things around you.
I'm just a very traumatized child. So
yes, those are my favorites, by the way. If the whole building were full of more traumatized people, it would be a better environment, you know, because they would care more because they've been through stuff.
That's why a part of me is excited to move to sober living with other women. Who knows? Maybe it's going to be the best thing for me.
Are you just trying to find a place to live? Or are you just like, oh, that's an easy one to get into?
Yes. And yes. And yes. I still have to pay
You have to pay to go there?
A lot of money, yes.
You do?
Yes. And I'm going to have 2 girls living in the same room with me.
Have you met them?
No.
I hope that they're like coke addicts or something fun.
It's like a lottery.
Just hope they're not heroin addicts. Those are the worst. Are they heroin addicts? You'll find out. They're your best friends.
It's been an interesting start of the year, Lauren.
No kidding. From the fires to moving in.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, it's been a shitty year. Yeah. But when you were here, right now there's so many empty units.
That's
because
true.
It's so. And did you hear these? I hear people, you probably don't anymore, but I hear people coming to look at the units and they're just like, oh my God, it's awful. How much are you charging? It's so poorly managed, this building. I came here with my my ex-husband at the time. He moved in here and I moved in with him. At the time I was like, cool, like Santa Monica, cool. But then this building, it felt to me, I could not believe how awful people could be, actually.
I'm reading, not just reading your book, but also hearing other people's stories as I'm getting older, how kids come into people's lives and how it can change everything.
You think it's my kid is the problem? Can I get rid of him? The apartment's being a lot better. That's right. Leo doesn't care. He knows I have mixed feelings about him.
No, like you moved in with your boyfriend and then you got pregnant and then you had to live somewhere.
I wasn't sort of like, oh, now I'm pregnant. Where I go? Like, I knew I was going to live here. Like, I was still with him.
It was a temporary place.
Yes, because it was like,
I know,
because of how intense it is to deal with other people
but
who
then
are
life,
not.
Right, because over here, for me, what it reminds me, it's like there are motels.
Yes.
And we're living in a motel.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it because it feels that way. This old guy's been living down the street from me for over 20 years. This guy lives down there and he walks by me and I say hi to him and he doesn't say, I'm like, for 20 years, dude, there's a woman who walks her dog out in front. Have you
with
seen her
curly
little
hair?
Yes. And she looks
She
at you
never
like
says
she's,
hi.
no. And I got to the point where I waved to her just to be aggressive.
I'm trying to give them
space.
I'm like, maybe she's blind. Something.
That's what I thought. She was blind too. She's got kind of blind eyes. Yeah.
But then the Russian, okay, so
let's talk about the Russian.
So we have the
Alex.
2 buildings. It kind of looks like it can be the same building.
Yeah.
But you can hear what's going on there. And one day, we became friends because I guess he doesn't really speak English. And
Alex.
And I gave him a phone number.
That was a mistake.
And he called me and I thought something happened. He's an older guy.
Oh, he's fine. Mafia, Russian mafia.
And he goes, I really like your curtains.
Oh my God, he's talking about your vagina.
So after that, I think I'm a spy, but he's a bigger spy.
The Russians unite.
After that, I stopped picking it up and he's not really into texting. So
you started picking it up. What?
No, I stopped picking up the phone.
He's lived over there forever. He's someone I want to talk to too. Like what brought him over here? All I know from him is he will call me over to insult me. He's always like, Lauren, this hair color is not good for you. Believe me.
No, if he says that probably comes from a loving place.
I don't think it comes from a loving place.
But his English is very bad.
He also came over one time and he had a Google translator on his phone. He's never come to my door. One time came to the door and he was like, can you take care of my sourdough mix? Or it was a starter mix that he wanted us to watch his yeast. He kept saying cottage cheese. Well, you watch my cottage cheese. And I was like, girl, you know I will. But I've always wondered who he was more. Like, doesn't he miss his family? How could we've lived so close for so long and I have no idea what brought him over here. I just assume if somebody's here, like, what's your story, brother?
Sometimes it's better when you don't know and when you don't speak the language because when it's hot especially and the windows are open and he talks to Moscow.
Yeah.
So it's very good that you don't hear what he's saying because this is very triggering for me.
What's he talking about?
It's just very negative and with a lot of cursing.
Oh, you don't like cursing?
No, it's
Russian cursing. You know the type. You know him well.
Yeah, it's not like, I think there's nothing really about him.
Okay, that was somebody I was excited about.
And I also think he likes Hitler. So I'm very confused because I think he's a Jew. And I had a very confusing conversation with him.
About Hitler? See, this is why apartments. This is a really good example of all the different, like, you don't want to know him, maybe it's a little bit about Hitler. Like, what? He's talking about Hitler? Or are you just trying to be a really good guest?
I don't know. I feel comfortable with you.
Yeah, you're like, have you ever seen a baby be killed? So when you first moved in, I was like, God, she's so relaxed. Like, she just seems so comfy in your socks and coming down to smoke a joint.
No, Lauren, I was planning my death.
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't know that you were going to Africa for that.
I wasn't working. I was afraid of people. I didn't want to leave the house. And then Wendy told me I love to dance, and she told me don't try to dance because the neighbors downstairs can
You haven't been dancing because of me? That's probably why you're going to sober living.
Because I didn't want to go to Africa to die.
Don't want to go to Africa to die. I won't dance.
Yeah, I remember you liked my socks, but yeah, and I was just smoking, and trying to keep it to myself.
Yeah, I could tell there's something going on. I'm always really embarrassed. I have to say that I'm like when you were like, oh, I thought you owned it because of how much it looks like I've lived here for so long, because I have.
Whenever I passed by, because my major goal in life was to make my place where I live feel like home as much as I can. And that's a huge project because a lot of people don't really care about it. Yeah. They have a place to sleep, and that's it. And whenever I passed, it looks so cozy and homey and not like most of the apartments that I see here.
Actually, that's positive. Okay.
I remember the color of this wall that you have in your kitchen. I like colors. I love your art. There's a big...
This is going really well.
Weird art piece. Maybe we'll take a picture of it. It's undescribable, but that's how I feel a lot of times. But I think this is what you said.
Yeah,
this is how you feel. I'm like,
I think this feels like Lincoln Boulevard to me.
Oh, and one of the things why I moved here, I lived in Chicago in Lincoln Park area.
Me too. I went to school in Lincoln Park at DePaul.
Oh.
You were like Lincoln.
Obviously, the letter here is missing. I'm like, ugh, if it was my building, I would make it look nice and pretty. But anyway.
I love that you noticed that the letter is missing. I talk about that all the time.
I really wanted to see how inside of your apartment looked for the longest time. So when you finally asked me, what are your plans? I was so happy to see
that was a great day. That was a great day for everybody. Well, now this is all sounding so good.
So cute. That's why I thought you owned it.
I appreciate that.
I just really like the vibe. And it's kind of how my place looks like. Very homey.
I don't know. The only time I went up there, you were vacuuming naked. I don't know.
True, right.
Now I sound creepy. I want to look at that is so nice and so much more. I will think that I will feel ashamed that people are sort of like, oh, wow, like you look like you've been here a long time. Like when everybody else is like, I got to get out of here. Like this is just a stepping stone to get out. Like I hear people, babe, I'm never living like this again. Okay. The next apartment, we are going to have a dishwasher. And the complaining about how awful it is. And I'm just like, oh, I just put up with it.
No, that's why I thought you owned it or something. I'm like, wow, she's so lucky. That's my dream. I just want to have my home cozy where I can hide from the world.
Right.
And yours had such a cute nook outside where you have your bikes.
Wow, this is the best guest ever.
Anyway, and you made it cute. You have so many plants and...
Thank you. I guess I must feel so much shame all the time that I assume what everybody says is something negative or something, right? When I saw you when I was coming home after the Bell's palsy thing, and you were like, I read your book, and I thought that as you were talking, when you said you were so angry.
I finished it in few nights. I didn't watch TV with my boyfriend or did anything, and I don't really read books. I listen to audiobooks. My attention span is like very...
Yeah, that's me too. Probably why it suited you.
And also, I was like...
Big fonted book.
I wanted to know more about you.
Yeah, really? More than what's in the book?
When you said like, oh yeah, and I write a lot about living here in my life and how you are.
Is that how you hear me talking? Life.
Yes, because you're kind of, how you say?
Oh no, it's going to come out kind of offensive.
It's the Midwest meets LA.
That's okay. I'll take that.
But you know what? I believe in, I think it's Japanese religion, like Taoism, where everything has soul, non-living things have soul. So you need to take care of everything, not just yourself, but the place where you live.
Right.
Like the house.
Do you thank the trees? I had a woman take my class who told me, like, she was like, you have to go out and thank the trees. And I go, I fucking blame the trees. And I was like, you played a part.
But I love your brutal honesty, even like in your book and when you talk, like you're very consistent how you see the world and how you can make fun of your character defects and how you can recognize it and you make fun of it. I'm like, wow, that's a huge step.
That's nice. Thank you.
You're not like trying to sugarcoat it.
If we would have talked earlier, I would have felt better about myself for like the last 2 years.
I was trying to invite myself over.
Yeah, you did. But as soon as you said that, I was like, back off.
Or I was scared of you.
That's why I like it. I was trying to keep it in that place.
Because I wasn't sure if Lauren was joking or if she was just like, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like, damn, I like her sense of humor. Like grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy.
Whatever. But then I'm like, no, I think she has a sense of humor.
No, I'm grumpy because my husband had sex with the babysitter. So that was
long time ago.
Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to let it go.
You're
I know. About to live in sober living. You know what it's like. Come on. You've got traumas, okay? Take it easy.
If you don't give a shit about something, you can't bring any positivity or abundance to it. It needs some loving.
It needs some loving, man. You just like hit it.
But that's how I am. That's how you are with your place. Mm-hmm. Most people are not like that.
Wow, this is like actually really positive. That's your whole deal, right? You have a lot of friends in sober living. You're really very positive. And
If I don't kill myself.
yeah, if you don't kill yourself. You can't do that. You got to go to Africa for that.
Eventually, it comes back to ourselves, and the external things don't change how we feel internally. And it doesn't matter how much of the external things we have. It will never bring us back to ourselves.
That's really good, Ella. That's really good. That's really sweet.
Well, that's where I am right now.
It's funny. You'd think you'd not be in that kind of positive place.
I'm like starting all over.
Sorry, you guys. I really thought she was going to be meaner. I'm really sorry.
You're very, very lucky. I think you're a very, very beautiful woman.
Right. Okay. What's going on? What are you trying to do now?
I'm very emotional. I'm going through a lot.
Yeah, you're giving good vibes.
I went to my outpatient program for addicts today, and it's in West Hollywood, and I'm around gay people. I was like, I can't go. I'm crying, and she thinks I'm positive energy and I'm chatty, and all I want to do is just hide right now and have a drink. But I promised her, and it's my first podcast.
Oh, this is today you're talking about.
They told me to be myself.
Those bitches were right. Because that was great. Now I'm just like, I've got it all. And you've just ruined the whole podcast.
You're a miracle, because I don't know if what you wrote is true or not, but you were adopted. Oh, that's not the reaction I was hoping for.
I was adopted? This is how I'm finding out? Who told you that?
In your book.
I was kidding. I would never be adopted. I am adopted. I'm adopted. I'm adopted. Clearly, I'm adopted.
For me, I wanted to be an actress.
You did?
And my dad told me when I was 12 that only prostitutes become actresses.
That's true.
Motherfucker.
It's a truth.
Lauren!
It's a true thing.
Lauren!
It's a part of you don't have to be one, but you definitely, it helps.
This building is pink and it's not missing any letters on Lincoln Park. Thank you, Lauren, for having me, and Will.
Oh my God, you're acknowledging Will? I was pretending he wasn't in the room. Okay. No, that was awesome. Thank you.
That was Dwelling with Lauren Weedman. I love how that turned out.
Yes, Lauren has a very cool process, and I love both those interviews.
I guess we lived in 2 apartments together, East Village and then Beechwood here in LA.
Yeah, Beechwood in particular had some interesting characters.
There are quite a few.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you really get out of this is the fact that you get to know so many people and you have to get along with them.
Yeah.
It reminds me of you had just started your job at Conan. You were over the hill.
I was just getting started.
You were over Barham. And I happened to have my wardrobe PA job downtown at City Studios. You called me and you're like, hey, there's a fire in our apartment. Sounds like everything's okay. I'm going to check it out. So Jesse had moved in recently. He's a graphic designer, and he, for some reason, had to break into his apartment because I think he got locked out. So he knew how to break into an apartment. So what happened was, I think it was his birthday. And so he was at home, and the fire alarm started going in our apartment. And rather than call the fire department, call 911, he just broke into our apartment. It was full on smoky in there. He went to the bathroom, and we had one of those old Thermador heaters.
Like built into the wall.
Built into the wall, which you're supposed to disconnect, I think, now. When we moved in, I was like, oh, does this work? It didn't work. Well, something made it work. So there's a towel in front of it. He picked up the towel. As he grabs it, throws it into the tub, it ignites.
Because of the movement. That's like all it needed.
Yeah, for the oxygen. So then he extinguished it with the water. Then he opens up all the windows so that it was aired out. And then he said to you, I hope it's aired out by the time you get there.
Yeah.
And we're like, you just saved our apartment? Just became this hero?
No, he just immediately took action.
So he was really great. We had a couple of really interesting other neighbors. I would say there's one woman who moved upstairs. I think she had a really big partying history.
Is rode hard and put up wet too harsh of a
I mean, it's appropriate. It's tough, though. When you kind of have rode that fun train for a long time, then it becomes a little bit tougher. And I think that was when I really understood the implications of Ambien and drinking, which I think is what was happening. So we'd hear these loud crashes. I think she was falling off the couch. And we were friendly enough that I'd be like, hey, are you okay up there? And then I remember one time I didn't get a response. She ran down the stairs, which I could hear because they were right next to our back door. She ran down the stairs, ran back up the stairs, and then texted me and said, I was out of the apartment. I just came home. What do you mean? And I was like, I just heard you fall off the couch.
Yeah.
But then I heard you run down the stairs and pretend like you weren't home.
Oh my God, I'd forgotten about that.
And then the big one was we had just had our daughter. She was a newborn. And all of a sudden, I think you were asleep. All of a sudden, I hear water rushing through our bathroom. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like this huge flood coming through our bathroom. And so you run upstairs and you pound on the door. She answers and she's kind of stumbling about. You're like, your water's on. And so you just go through the apartment, you turn off the water and you leave. So the next morning, we let the landlord know, we're like, hey, something happened last night. Like there's water coming through our bathroom. He calls her and she says, I wasn't here last night. I was in San Diego.
She claimed to be in San Diego when that happened?
I think you forgot this. So then she calls you.
Yeah, I must have known that at the time.
You knew it. And so she calls you and she's like, hey, Will, what happened last night? Because we were like, because we told the landlord, we're like, Will like went up there and walked past her and turned off the water.
If I remember correctly, when I went up to the top of the stairs, I had to like convince her that the water was on. Like talk my way past her and be like, look,
that's right.
Trust me, you got to let me into your bathroom.
So then she called you the next day. She's like, because we wrote we talked to the landlord. We're like, hey, no, like Will actually walked past her and the water was going. And so then she called you and she's like, hey, can you tell me what happened? I don't remember what happened last night. And then you told her.
Yeah, it's hard to know how close you should be with your neighbors.
That's true.
Could go either way.
Thank you so much for listening to Jett Road Studios Presents.
Thank you, Lauren Weedman and Brian Finkelstein and Ella Mouvet.
Please rate and review the show on places like Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
You can also check out JettRoadStudios.com. And we are Jett Road Studios on Instagram and YouTube.
See you soon.
Jett Road Studios, where it's always pilot season.